Hi, welcome to the Gastroenteritis Blues. My name is Steve Littman, joined as always by Dan Volpone, Emily Cannell. If you're watching on the YouTube right now, you are saying to yourself, first of all, go Sixers. Second of all, where is Emily? Because this new backdrop is so different. So Emily, you can say as much or as little as you please, but you are in a new place. And how are you? And how is that new place?
The new place is great. We moved to the suburbs, so I no longer live in the Philadelphia city limits, which is lovely and also very sad. And so now I'm in a new office at my new house.
And you watched game one of the Sixers playoff series from this new place, correct?
I did. At first, we thought we were gonna have to go to the bar because we couldn't get the cable to work, but luckily we did. So we watched it from this new house. Yes.
And so far the juju is good.
Yes,
right?
Maybe this is lucky. We'll see.
That'd be great. That would be great. And things are going well. You're settling in.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say that people are wondering why your background is so lit up, because normally at this hour it's very dark in the back of your apartment, and today it looks like the lights are on.
The lights are on. But no, things are good. You guys are settling in. Is Jordy liking it? Was the move good?
Yeah, everything was good. Jordy's liking it. Luna loves it. There are dogs on like all sides of us in our backyard, so she has many friends. She sits on the third floor and stares out the window at them. Yeah, it's all great.
Thrilling. Very good. Good news. Dan, over to you. How's everything going with you, with your life? Give me the news. I didn't have a question prepared for you. You didn't.
No, I don't have much new like Emily, but
yeah.
I feel like I'm at a point in my life where my emotions are highly dependent on the Sixers, and Saturday night was wonderful, and so I'm feeling pretty good right now.
It's a good transition. The Sixers played Saturday night. They had game one against Toronto, and just as everyone predicted, they blew them out. They beat Toronto by a cool 20 points, and Maxey had 38. And they played really well. This was a wire win, and it was just an incredibly impressive game one from them. Just to start off, just overall takeaways here. Dan, what stuck out from you for you right away from this game? It was sort of an understated Joel game, but I guess we can just start with Tyrese, who had 38 points on 21 shots. He was 14 for 21 from the field. He was 5 of 8 from 3. 4 rebounds, 2 assists in 38 minutes. He was just electric. He hit that 130-foot 3 at the end of the third quarter. He was beating everybody down the court. He was mic'd up, which was, he's good on mic'd up whenever. Maxey chants, we can pretty much hit everybody during this, but start with Maxey and just talk to me about the game.
Yeah, I mean, Maxey was awesome. There was a ton of attention going to Joel and Harden, and I mean, first of all, when's the last time we even had someone besides Joel who would take that much attention? And then to have a third guy who can step up, like he did. He was the high scorer of the playoffs so far, I think, although I was in the car for actually, I think Kyrie might have outscored him. But opening night, he had of those 4 games, he had the most points. And he was fantastic. I also want to mention Tobias, not just scoring the ball, which Tobias scored the ball very, very well, but really unexpectedly successful on defense against Siakam. I mean, Siakam was going to score, and he played fine. And he's been on a tear lately, and he's basically going to get his. He had 24 points, but he was only 9 of 18 from the field. Only got 5 foul shots. It's a good game, but it's the kind of game that's not going to kill him. That's not going to be what does the Sixers in if that's all he gets. And to be able to not have Joel out on the perimeter on Siakam the whole game, not picking up those fouls. And Tobias really stuck with him well. And so, I think Maxey, rightfully so would be, the bell ringer from the game, as we do at Liberty Ballers. But, Joel and Harden, first of all, were fine. They were, I think they both had like solid games, and took what was given to them. But Tobias is the other guy who really stood out to me, and just played so much better than I thought he would. And he might not keep shooting as well as he did. And obviously, I think the biggest Raptors adjustments are going to be, what they do on defense with the Sixers, because the Sixers scored 131 points. And I think we'll see a lot more zone. We could touch on that later. But, maybe that some of that takes away some of what Tobias does on offense. But he played really, really well on Siakam defensively and was on him a lot. And, going into the series, I didn't think that was a favorable matchup. I would have put Joel on Siakam. I would have put Paul Reed on Siakam. Besides George Niang, I didn't think that there were many people that size that I would want less on Siakam. But he really just stayed in front of him and was focused the whole time. And I was impressed. So, the guys who should be their four best players were, all really, really solid. And when you're the better team and you get that from all those guys, you're going to win every game. But you're going to, if those four guys play, games like this, the whole series, they'll sweep them. I'm not saying it'll happen, but they all did what they had to do.
Yeah, just quickly on that Siakam Tobias matchup, I made a joke when we had MOC on last week that like you literally cannot have Tobias on Pascal for a second, because the second Pascal sees Tobias guarding him, it's 2 points. Like you can put it in the box score, it's over. Like, because that has just anecdotally been my experience watching Tobias guard Pascal. And as you said, to his credit, Tobias was a lot better on him. So that might even out. We'll see what happens. But we can go more into Tobias, who had a good game. But Emily, your takeaways from game one and starting with Tyrese, like what was your experience watching game one in a really, I think, huge Sixers win? Because I just think you can't lose game one as a home team to this Toronto team, who I don't think is particularly afraid of the Sixers, given the way the season series went, and just huge to not get in a hole against them and win this one, and certainly have to take care of business on Monday night as well. But a huge win and a declarative win in this fashion. So what did you think of it?
Yeah, I thought it was really fun to watch, number one, especially Maxey. That was at the third quarter. He had like 21 points or something insane. Like he's like, all these stats, the youngest player to like have 38 points and no turnovers in a playoff game, like the youngest Sixer to do it, all this stuff. And not only that, but we've said it before, like Maxey is fun to watch. Like he's good and also fun to watch because he looks like he's having fun doing it, versus like, not to say Joel doesn't look like he's having fun when he scores 40, but because I don't know, he's Joel, maybe because he does it more, maybe because he expects himself to get 40 every night. Maxey just looks like he's having the time of his fucking life, and it makes me have the time of my life. Like, I don't know how many texts I sent that just said like the kid in all capitals, like multiple times every time he would hit a 3-pointer. So it was just really fun to watch him. I agree with Dan. I was really impressed with Tobias's game. I think a lot of times, probably for worse, that the Sixers' success like kind of hinges on Tobias playing well, because he can really take them either way. Like if he's having a good game and someone else, it allows Joe to not have to like kill himself as much. But if he's having a bad game, it can really negatively affect the team. So for him to have a good game was really a good thing in this, obviously this game one. And I think Joe had a fine game. I kind of think because everyone else was doing what they were doing, he didn't have to put the team on his back as much as he normally does. I think if it had gone a different way, I think Joe easily would have scored more points. I just don't think he had to. So he was like, I'm not going to kill myself right now.
Yeah, so you mentioned some of the stats with Tyrese from John Clark. The only players in the NBA history younger than Tyrese to score 38 points or more in a playoff game are LeBron and Magic Johnson. So
Terrible
that's
company.
pretty crazy. From Ruben Frank, Maxey scored more points in 12 minutes of the third quarter, 21, than his predecessor, Ben Simmons, scored in a combined 100 minutes in the last 3 full games of last year's semifinal series against the Hawks, which was 19, the last time Simmons played. So not to shit on Ben, of course, who we love and I've always loved. But that's just a fun stat. So yeah, Maxey was unbelievable. Sixers also didn't turn the ball over like at all. It was remarkable. The like how they didn't. What was their
I think they're like 4 or something crazy.
final?
They had 4, but one was the shot clock violation at the end of the game when they just ran the clock out. And
So they
none
had
in the first
3.
half.
They had 3 total, and they had 0 in the first half. And we can transition to talking about Harden and Embiid. Harden had 1 turnover to 14 assists. So talking about both of them, Harden had 22 points. He was 6 for 17 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, which is great. He had 6 of his 7 free throws. Joel was only 5 of 15 from the field. He did not turn the ball over at all. He had 4 assists, 15 rebounds. I thought his defense was great. And I just thought Joel was especially incredibly impactful on the game. I thought Harden, his pace was really good. He missed at the rim a good amount. I thought both of them were really impactful. Like I was happy with the game from both. They won by like 20, so you're not going to complain much about anything. But I was impressed. I thought the flow was really good, and I felt really, really good about the way that those guys played together. That 1 assist from Harden to Maxey full court was unbelievable. One of the best passes of the season by far. And Joel, like we've seen this story a million times with Joel against the Raptors, where he gets frustrated that a shot isn't going in and he turns the ball over 8 times and he's yelling at the refs, and he just didn't let that happen, and he didn't force the issue, and he found his teammates, and so he trusted his teammates, and that was a big deal. And I think it's a good sign of things to come, and his shots will go in more, and I think it was a good thing to see. And I like that Harden's threes were going in. And so yeah, overall, those guys will shoot better from the field, but I was happy with both of their games and the way they were finding their teammates. And Maxey and Tobias picked up the slack from the field in a big way. So Emily, your thoughts on Harden and Joel's nights?
Yeah, I think a lot of what you said, and I think it's the kind of the thing where you know it when you see it when you're watching basketball. Like Joel was playing great defense, and Joel was doing other things on the floor to get shots for other people, but it doesn't necessarily show up in like box score, like points, assists, but he does other things. And he also seems like Joel's not the kind of guy that like cares how many points he gets as long as the team wins. So, and I was really encouraged because Harden hasn't hasn't been shooting that many threes, and they also haven't been going in as much. So I was happy to see that, because that is important for this team.
Yeah. And Harden, just like since he's gotten here, he doesn't seem concerned with like his shot profile, like how many shots he gets compared to how many shots Maxey gets or Tobias gets, which is encouraging. I think we don't seem to have that particular issue. Obviously, his field goal percentage has been low, and that has concerned me since he's been here. But that particular thing hasn't been an issue. And he definitely seems excited when he dimes out guys like Maxey and Tobias and Niang and all of that kind of stuff. So, his passing was incredible in this game and was huge. And it seemed like he did have a bounce in his step in terms of just like attracting Raptors defenders. Dan, what did you think about Harden and Embiid in this one?
No, I thought they were both good. I think that we'll see better games from both of them at some point in the series. But yeah, they did what they had to do. Harden's finishing at the rim is just not going to be there. They were able to, get some offensive rebounds off of, his drives, because he does draw a lot of attention on his drives. And so it's just something that we're going to have to accept at this point. I don't think it's the end of the world. It's not great. But yeah, he had 14 assists and 1 turnover. They weren't, cheap assists. They were tough passes to get a lot of open looks. Really, like, even end of shot clock situations, turning nothing into a good look. And it's so valuable. And the Sixers haven't had a guy like that, that I can remember. And it was huge. And the big thing with Harden to me was, the Raptors are all over Joel. And when the Raptors come and they cut the lead from 24 down to 11, who's going to be the guy? If they're going to be doubling Joel before he even touches the ball, who's going to be the guy that you can go to? And Harden hit the step back 3, the layup, and had the full court pass to Maxey. And next thing you know, they're back up pushing 20.
Right.
And that was it. That was the Raptors' big run. It was cut it to 11, then they went back and forth a few times, and Harden took over. And that's the luxury you have. I mean, he's not going to hit that step back 3 every time, but you have a guy who's able to take over, even though he's not looking like fully himself, and the hamstring doesn't look perfect. He can take over for 2 minutes and spark a big run, and he can really run the offense effectively the whole game. I thought there was and it's the first game of the playoffs and things changed, but there wasn't a ton of standing around dribbling like what drove us crazy at points in the regular season. I thought it was just a good Harden game, even though he was 6 of 17 from the field. And really with Joel, I mean, he didn't shoot well. That'll change, but he had 19 points on 15 shots. It's not a horrible offensive game. He still had 4 assists and no turnovers. He had, 15 rebounds? Yeah, 15 rebounds. So yeah, he did what he had to do. He was great defensively, and other guys were hitting shots, and other guys were getting such good looks because of the combination of Embiid is drawing attention no matter what. And when Harden has the ball, he also draws attention and can pass off of it. And there were so many easy open looks, regardless of who got these. I mean, Embiid's not going to get the assists for drawing all the attention. Harden got a ton of assists, but there were a lot of plays where Embiid's already getting a ton of attention. Harden, gets into the lane, and then you have a couple swing passes because the defense is trying to recover from a good Harden pass out to the perimeter. And yes, the Sixers aren't going to shoot 50% from 3. They're not going to go 16 of 32 every single game. Although I will say the Raptors were 12 of 30, so they shot 40% from 3. They had a really good 3-point shooting game. And the Sixers aren't going to shoot 50% from 3 every game, but it wasn't a coincidence that this is a game they did it. They weren't hitting tough contested looks with the Raptors having to shrug and be like, what are you going to do? Right? Like, Sixers were getting open shots, and that starts with Embiid and Harden. Even, Embiid's not going to get that showing up in the box score like Harden did, but it's both of them. And the Raptors have always been, so far on the side of take away Embiid. And everyone else needs to step up, and Embiid needs to stay patient. And that's what happened in game 1. So I don't really care what the box score says. I thought he was good.
Yeah. The other thing that everybody was really interested in before this game was who was going to play backup center. And of course, last game of the year, BBall Paul had an excellent game, and then people were excited about it, and Doc threw cold water on that and said that we were not going to be excited about that, and that Paul should shut the fuck up about being excited about that, and people should not be excited about it. And we're here to win a championship and not what was it, like, have a BBall Paul
Victory
party
tour.
Yeah,
victory tour.
Yep.
So and he said, right, all season when somebody's small, Paul is out there. You've seen this all year. And when somebody's big, DeAndre's out there. This is what we do. We've done it all year. but the quotes leading up to this series did start to seem like DeAndre was sort of saying, like, whether I'm on the court or off the court, I want to help out the team, which is something somebody usually says when they're not going to play. And Paul had a quote where he said he had a text exchange with Doc Rivers that Doc had actually mentioned in a recent presser. Paul said, this is a quote, he said, he texted me something and I was like, oh yeah, I appreciate it. And thank you for being patient with me. Whoop-de-woo, whoop-de-whoop-de-woo. And he made those noises, and I think that's great.
I'm upset we still haven't gotten the video of this. I need to hear the noises.
I can just imagine him literally texting Doc Rivers, whoop-de-whoop-de-woo, and Doc being like, whoop-de-whoop-de-woo, what the fuck? Doc's like texting Callie, being like, what is...
Doc made those noises.
No, Doc didn't make those noises.
I thought they were saying Doc in his presser said whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop.
No, Paul did.
No,
all right, well, I
Dan,
misread that.
Dan, there's no... Doc hasn't said whoop-de-whoop-de-woo ever.
He could have. It would have, maybe he was, I don't know.
Being facetious.
What do you mean? As if
like,
Paul is always
Paul,
going around saying whoop-de-whoop-de-woo.
Could you?
No one says that. Why should I know that was Doc and not Paul? Or Paul and
No,
not
that was
Doc?
Paul.
Whatever.
That was Paul.
Carry on.
No, so that was Paul. Anyway, Paul played in game one, and it wasn't necessarily spectacular, but he was good because he is good. And he played completely fine. He was a plus in how many minutes did he play? He played 11. A few of those were garbage time at the end of the game, but he played 11 minutes. He had 3 points. He did have 4 fouls, probably too many, but it's okay.
But we don't need more than 11 minutes, so let him get the fouls. No. I don't care.
A lot of his fouls are not fouls.
I agree.
Just want to put that
I agree. I think refs see him and they're like, he's too weird. He's fouling somebody right now.
He's erratic limb movements, and he's just gonna foul someone.
He was +4. He had a block. He had a steal, 3 rebounds, 1 for 2 from the field. Just completely fine and good. And he's great. So
we should fully expect to see DeAndre Jordan tomorrow night, is what you're saying.
He's just, he's completely like, he's a good rebounder. He's a really good, like, solid defender. The fouling, he's not going to play more than 8 or 10 minutes if the games are ever close. Like, this is totally fine. And I'm happy.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, the way they have the rotation, especially in game one, it was Paul basically played, I think he played end of the first quarter, and end of the third. And it's like, okay, well, the Sixers are probably already in the bonus anyway, so the foul isn't a big deal. At the end of the quarter, it's not as big of a deal as picking up dumb fouls to start the quarter.
Yeah. So, I'm just, listen, good on Doc for actually having him in there in the playoffs. And I don't know what it is that brought him this epiphany at the end of the year. Obviously, it would have been nice to have him get his sea legs under him a bit earlier, but whatever, he's out there now, and hopefully he continues to play and play well. But DeAndre would have been a disaster because he's terrible, and I'm happy to see the Paul's out there, and I hope it keeps going. Dan, any additional thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, how incredible was winning the Joel minutes against the Raptors? Like, that's crazy.
The non-Joel minutes.
I'm sorry, winning the non-Joel minutes. Yes. I'm very tired. But yeah, like you said, Paul Reed +4, like, that's unbelievable. And you can compare it, Jokic is winning MVP because he had no help this year. They were only a +3 within the non-Jokic minutes, so naturally they had to lose by 16, whereas the Sixers were able to win by 20 because of that extra point that the Nuggets had without him that the Sixers were able to get with the non-Joel minutes. So I mean, it's clearly not fair. That besides my incoherent anger at the MVP voting, because again, I'm really tired and I just got back to Philly. The BBall Paul minutes were awesome, and they need to continue. I don't understand how Doc could watch BBall Paul and watch what Jordan and Millsap have given you this year and think that there's any lineup, regardless of size, where BBall Paul is not your best option off the bench. They need everything he brings, and the other guys bring nothing. And so if I don't care if the Sixers get past the Raptors and they're playing someone who Doc thinks is big. And I don't know who Doc thinks is big because I can't get in Doc's brain. But we just can't see DeAndre Jordan. Paul Reed is not, he's not looking like an all-star out there. He's not looking, like someone whose game you would tell a kid to watch and say, go practice this. But he is looking like someone whose game you would tell a kid to watch and say, like, go have this energy, go have this, nose for the ball. I don't know. Like I think that there's a difference between awkward and uncoordinated. And Paul is awkward. And like you said, he picks up fouls because he looks weird. He does things weird. But he's not uncoordinated. He's not just throwing his body around. He's like really doing purposeful things out there that are giving you a lot of help. And they're so much better than the other option. And so, he was awesome. And it was, what a difference. He was a +4. They won the non-Joel minutes by 4 points. Usually they lose those minutes by, even if Joel plays as few and the backups play okay, they lose them by 7. Well, that's an 11-point swing. They won the game by 20, but they got to rest their guys at the end. Like it changes everything, and it's huge. This is a series that's particularly good for Paul. This match is particularly good for Paul because the Raptors have a bunch of guys who are kind of Paul Reed size, but a little smaller. And Paul Reed, compared to their other options, is just a better athlete, a better rebounder, all the things they need. But I don't care. Any other team, this is your guy.
But Paul is also talented. Like he's not like
that's what I'm saying. He looks weird, but he's not just like lost or uncoordinated out there. He can shoot and he rebounds and he blocks shots. He's a really good basketball player who just kind of looks weird when he moves. But it's not like he's flailing around or can't control his limbs. Like his movements are purposeful and they're helpful to the team.
Also, we'll never stop reminding people he did this podcast. Congratulated Emily, who was not on that specific episode, but he congratulated
Emily hates.
True.
On her wedding. No, that's not true. Don't put that.
Congratulated Emily on her wedding. Told us that it was an honor to talk to us. And we had a great time with him. Emily, any thoughts on Paul as the backup center here?
No, I love it. I love him. I also really enjoyed, like, there's like 2 people on this team that get chance for them. Like Joel will get MVP chance and Paul gets BBall Paul chance. And I just think that's truly incredible.
And Maxey getting Maxey chance while Tobias was at the line, which is sort of sad, but so I do feel kind of bad for Tobias, but Tobias had an excellent game and I was
he earned himself not getting booed, and that's
his name is not really chantable. Like I guess you could do Harris, but it's not as Toby. It's not as good with the double R.
Say Toby.
Yeah, not as good.
No.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm not a big fan of this in general, so I might be biased about not liking Toby.
You would have to do like so much to get chanted, really. I mean, Maxey is
it's
like the highest Q rating of anybody in Philadelphia at all.
But like when you're making that much money, like, do you really need a chant? Like he's fine. You know what I mean? Like he'll be if he plays up to his contract for one game, then we're gonna win we're gonna win that game because we'll be a phenomenal team, and then he can go home and feel good about it with all his money. So it's great.
Dan, you alluded quickly to the MVP stuff. Meanwhile, Saturday was a great night online because Jokic fucking sucked. And I'm sure his fantasy points were great, but his team.
He was the leading fantasy scorer of the night, actually.
That's great. I'm not going to do it now because the voting isn't out yet and all NBA teams haven't been announced yet. But I will say that there is just a massive rant coming if Joel isn't on first team All NBA again this year. And I'm just going to lose my mind.
I don't think he will be.
I don't think he will be either. So I just want people to know that I'm going to lose my mind. if that happens again, because it's insane. But I'm not going to do it now because maybe it won't happen. We're going to go to a break, and then we'll talk about sort of the next, game 2, and then where everything. I just muted myself. Game 2, and where everything will go from here and around the league stuff. Here's the break. We're back. So any pivots that we think will happen from here? Scottie Barnes got his foot stepped on by Joel Embiid. I truly can't imagine many things worse than having your foot
It didn't
stepped
look
on
great.
by Joel Embiid going full speed. Sounds horrific. Do you think that, what kind of response do you expect from Toronto here in game 2? I certainly think they'll play better, and Nick Nurse is a great coach, and they'll try things to get Philly out of their rhythm. And Tyrese, obviously, there's somewhat of an outlier in that 38-point performance, but there's also an outlier in Joel going 5 of 15. Toronto shot, extremely well from 3. There's only so much of it that's predictive, and then some of it is just the Sixers do have more talent overall. So what kind of stuff do you expect from Toronto to try to pivot to here? Is it more doubles or less doubles or more zone? What kind of shit do you expect here coming up here, Emily?
Not really sure. Because I'm not, if Barnes is out, if Trent Jr. is out, I'm not that deep in the Raptors depth chart to know like who these people are that are then going to replace them. I guess that's good for the Sixers. The Sixers historically played not great with a zone, so I think going more zone is a good option for Toronto, but that's like the maximum of my defensive scheme knowledge. So
yeah, and I don't, Fred VanVleet is coming back from a knee thing. I don't know how fully up to speed he is. As a fan, I do obviously I hope the Sixers sweep them, but I also hope that Barnes plays. I don't really want to play them down one of their main guys. I want us to beat them soundly and also for them to have all their guys. Barnes is a cool player. I'd like to see him play. Dan, any expectations here for what Toronto might try to do to throw the Sixers off?
Yeah, there's a few things I'm expecting. For one, like Emily, you mentioned, you don't know who's going to replace him. I don't think anyone is. I think, from what we saw with the Raptors when they were thin mid-season, Nick Nurse is not afraid to play like 6 guys, 45 minutes each. And if it goes into overtime, then that's fine. Still the same 6 guys, just run them into the ground. They've been doing that this year, and I fully expect to see that, especially in a playoff game. We might see someone pushing 48 minutes on the Raptors. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Just because they're not all that deep to begin with. They have a lot of guys who are similar to each other, and Thad was a nice depth pickup, but now they have 3 guys who are doubtful for Monday night. And no, I don't think they're going to go too deep and try to, give someone a shot. I think they're just going to run their guys out there for a long time. I definitely expect to see a lot more zone. I think that'll be the biggest, and most meaningful adjustment we see. I think it's probably their only chance. I think Harden helps the Sixers with that though, but we'll see. And I also think we're going to see a lot of just annoying stuff, like tried to pick up. Nick Nurse is already trying to get the refs to call more fouls on Joel, because basically their only hope is to foul Joel out. And I think you're going to see guys, when they go to double, triple Joel, or when they trap him in his zone, to just kind of stick their head in there, because they're all, about half a foot shorter than Joel, and right where his elbow will go as he tries to rip through. And even if he keeps the elbow close to his body, then they're going to stick their head closer to him and try to pick up a dumb flagrant and make the Sixers play scared, because I think 4 flagrants and Joel gets a 1-game suspension. And even if it doesn't bother them this series, they want that in the Sixers' head, so they're not playing a certain way. Try to pick up dumb fouls. Try to bait Joel into anything. I basically think that's what we should expect. It already seems like Nurse is through his media comments is basically playing towards that. And the they don't have a chance in this series to just play normal basketball. I don't mean to sound overconfident because weird things could happen and the Sixers could lose because the Sixers lose weird series and teams do play weird in the playoffs. But I don't care what the head-to-head was in the regular season. The Sixers are so much more talented, especially with the Raptors injuries now. It's brutal for them. And they don't have a chance unless they make something weird happen. And they're going to try as hard as they can to make something weird happen. So that's what I expect. I expect a lot of crap. And I think it's going to be an annoying game 2 and an annoying game 3. And if the Sixers can pull them both out, I actually think it could be. I think game 3 is going to be the big shot from the Raptors. I think the Sixers are going to come into game 2 knowing they have to win. I think game 3 is the third game in 5 days. And you might see Harden a little tired. It's the first game in Toronto. It's the first game without Matisse. I think you get the Raptors' best shot then. If the Sixers can hang on through the first 3 games, I don't think they lose the fourth, to be honest. I know the fourth is usually the game where you see, a team desperate down 3-1, they pull out a win. I'm not trying to count the last 2 games as wins for the Sixers. I'm just saying that I think game 3 is the game I kind of expect the biggest shot from the Raptors, and where the weird stuff that I expect in game 2 is just going to kind of come to a head. In game 4, because there will be a game 4 no matter what, I actually feel that's the road game I feel best about because you'll have 3 days rest. I think that bodes well for Harden. You'll have 2 days rest. I think that'll be a good thing for Harden. And so I think you're going to see a lot of weird stuff, especially the next 2 games from the Raptors, just trying everything, switching things up, switching up defenses, trying to bait Joel into weird stuff and playing their starters basically the whole game. I think we're going to see a lot of that, at least games 2 and 3. And I think it's just going to build and build and build for the next couple of games. And I think it might be very frustrating, but I expect the Sixers to basically to win at least one of those, if not both of those next 2 games.
So you guys had Sixers in, one of you was 6 and one of you was 7, right?
I think you were 5, I was 6, Emily was 7.
I was 5, yeah. Emily was 7.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you were 6. Did game 1, let's say, assume health. Let's say that Barnes is like shaken up a little bit, but plays. That I don't know how much you really count him toward their success. And let's say Trent is mainly okay. Just the fact that the Sixers looked the way they did head to head with Toronto, beat them by 20. How much did that affect the way you view this series in terms of the way the Sixers will be able to handle them? Like I picked them in 5, thought the series was going to be a pain in the ass, but pretty much thought the Sixers would handle them in that amount of games, that Toronto would win a game and most of the games would be a pain in the ass. I didn't expect a game 1 20-point victory like that, but still, I pretty much would stick with 5. I think Toronto will win a game and the Sixers would close it out in 5. Dan, would you pretty much stick with 6, or would you, like now after seeing game 1, would you think that they could do it shorter?
I think they win in 5. I don't think I feel very confident about the series at this point. I think I think they'll win in 5. It might take them 6. I don't think they'll sweep them, but that's just, I wouldn't be surprised if they did, honestly. I recognize Toronto is not going to be quite as sloppy defensively. I think that, there were, a few possessions where the Sixers got easy looks off of Toronto, just basically screwing up. But I would say the same thing went for the Sixers, where the Sixers, after some big shots, gave up some really wide open, easy looks that Toronto knocked down all of them. It always felt like if the Sixers defense messed up, Toronto always made them pay that game. And it just didn't matter. But the 2 things that were encouraging to me, and Toronto will play better and the Sixers will play a little worse, but the Sixers handled Toronto's run. I thought was huge and really encouraging for this group. We've seen this group blow a lot of leads. A lot of them were pre-Harden, but a lot of them too were just like, even once you get Harden, it's like the team's figuring each other out. It's like the very end of the regular season when no one cares. A few of the blown leads were against teams that are just frankly a lot better than Toronto. Like they blew 10-point leads to the Bucks and Suns back to back. Those are really good teams. They're better than the Raptors. And so that was really encouraging to me that was something they were able to just answer. And then as far as as far as the backup center minutes, right? Like I wasn't really going to believe we were getting BBall Paul until I saw it, and I saw it, and he played great, and that's big. That could be a 2-game swing in the series. That could take you from winning in 7 to winning in 5 or something like that. So I feel really good about it. I think it was not an anomaly. I think the Raptors will make adjustments. They have a great coach, but I love how Doc handled everything, and it's always been a very winnable series. And Saturday night was a blowout. They won every quarter, and they were just clearly the better team. And I don't think that anything about that was anomalous. And it's just I expect it to continue. I think the Raptors take 1.
Emily, what about you? This affect anything in your prediction?
Yeah, I definitely think they'll win in 5 or 6. Now, I'm just so like tormented by past Sixers playoffs that I have a hard time like feeling optimistic about anything. Like I literally was like bet the Raptors plus 15 at the half because they're gonna win by like 4. Like I was fully expected them to blow the lead in the second half. I never feel comfortable when I'm watching them, but they looked much closer to how they looked when those first like couple Harden games when they were just and we were all like, what is this team? And this team is never going to lose again. And then they started going away from that and doing weird things and started losing games. Funny how that works. And I feel a lot more confident seeing them back to playing this way and looking comfortable doing it and everyone having success with it. And I don't know why you would go away from that style of play if it's working this well. And I don't think they will go away from it. So I'm feeling a lot better about the series and hoping that doesn't bite me in the ass. So
yeah. The last thing I think is any thoughts on the series from around the league right now? The big one I think is the Celtics and Boston. Celtics and Nets played their first game today, and it ended in, this was a great game that I didn't watch. Ended it with a Jason Tatum spin around whoop-de-whoop-de-woo buzzer beater by Jason Tatum, which was unreal. That was a crazy thing. And we can also mention that Ben Simmons is reportedly going to play basketball for the Nets between games 4 and 6. Not only in those games, but at some point he's going to debut.
He'll be ready as soon as the series ends.
And that's what they say. So I don't know what is going to happen there. Seems wild to just do that, but I don't know. I do think Boston's the better team regardless. I think Boston's really good. I mean, listen, I mean, Brooklyn was one like blown defensive assignment from winning game 1 here on the road. So they're obviously really good. Minnesota beat Memphis. That was an impressive win. Milwaukee's definitely going to sweep Chicago. Any other series from around the league that are catching your eye here, Emily, or any thoughts on the Brooklyn stuff? Anything that you're watching?
I've just been catching general like bits and pieces and scores. I do think that the Bucks will beat the Bulls, but I would like to commend the Bulls for really hanging in there and giving them their best shot. It was interesting there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Good on Golden State for beating the Nuggets. That's always fun. There's no reason why I enjoy that so much. Just big Golden State fan. Right after the Sixers, my favorite team. Yeah. I feel like the Suns Pelicans game is on right now, and I assume the Pelicans are getting decimated, but
yeah.
Not that many good series right now, actually.
No, not well.
Brooklyn,
yeah.
Boston is good.
That'll be good.
Yeah, that's like the one that actually seems good.
That one should be good.
Yeah.
Miami beat Atlanta by a lot today.
Mhm.
That one I did expect to be a good series, and hopefully it still will be. But yeah, Dan, any thoughts on the series from around the league?
Yeah, I'll give a quick thought on each one. Jazz Mavericks, that could be one sentence on each. Jazz Mavericks, not that entertaining. The Jazz look bad, but the Mavericks don't have Luka. Whoever wins is going to get killed by the Suns.
A run-on
Timberwolves,
sentence if I ever heard one.
well, I'm not grammatically perfect, Emily. Just trying my best. The Grizzlies lost the Timberwolves. I think they win the series, but they have no shot against the Warriors. The Warriors won't take more than 5 to beat the Nuggets. The Celtics Nets is by far the best series out there. Like I said, I don't think Ben is going to play in the series, and I think the Celtics are going to win the series.
So do you think that'll manifest? Do you think that manifests in a setback?
No, I just think he won't be ready. He still is playing like he hasn't played anything but 1-on-0 yet. They're ramping him up now. I doubt it.
He has too much ramp up to do.
That's a lot of ramps.
Yeah.
You gotta get to 1-on-1, 3-on-1, like 3-on-3, 5-on-5. It's too much.
Bucks Bulls. This was the Bulls' one chance. They're gonna get swept. They're not that good. The Hawks are gonna win at least 2 games against the Heat is my prediction. Trae Young is gonna play a lot better. They're gonna figure something out on defense. They're just the kind of team that will win a couple really close games, even if they're the worst team. And then the Pelicans have absolutely no chance against the Suns.
My dad just texted me, Suns are good. I said, yes.
Suns are good.
Suns
he's
are
right.
good.
He's right.
Guy's got a point. Gotta say, Willie Green coached a hell of a year, and would have loved if he had come home and coached the Sixers, because love Willie. And I was just right about him all along. And
Well, his team has 18 points through 14 minutes.
Can you let me have something, Dan? Can you? I was gonna say.
Is that what you're gonna say?
That was exactly what I was gonna be like. The Pelicans have 18 points. It's gonna be my little time to shine. But go ahead.
wait, what's happening?
I'm sorry. Why don't we edit, Drew? You can edit my part out, and then you can say it, and we'll pretend I never said it, and we'll all act surprised.
All right, listen. We've had quite an episode here. Cameo from Drew. Dan talking about a soda bottle. What an episode.
That is not going on the episode.
It's true. We've had quite an episode here. It's been a lot of fun. Sixers are up 1-0. The next time we talk will be next weekend, when things will be even better. Hopefully.
Series could be over.
I don't think so.
It could be.
Game
No.
4 would be Saturday.
It's Saturday.
Game 4 is Saturday. They play Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. Games 2, 3, 4.
Could be.
Steve has
shit.
no idea what the schedule is. It doesn't-
I'm like, I keep saying it, and Dan's confirming it, and Steve's still like, nope, no way, not happening.
That's true. All right. Well, at least we kept that going. But listen, good luck to the Sixers. And as always, good to see you guys. Emily, congrats on the move. And yeah, good to see you guys as always. Be safe and be great. And follow Gastroenteritis Blues Pod, Third and Girl, DA Peltz 13, Steve J. Littman,